Good day, folks, and welcome to the Anorak Review Show with your host, the Anorak. Firstly, I wish to apologise for the long delays for episodes and even parts of episodes lately. One of the reasons was that there was this big secret war going on over in Canada a few weeks ago, involving quite a few fellow internet reviewers and a lot of fictional characters from across the multiverse. Imagine if something like that, similar to that, would eventually happen over here too. Anyway, not only did we have our belated Christmas in June, as well as Halloween in April, now that I remember such too, but it's also our 100th and 25th episode. I mean, it's special, right? It's like 100 plus 25, right? Never mind. Anyway, I figured I'd do a special album today, and since I had already done homework and discovery, I decided to pick Daft Punk's fourth and final album. I'm sure some of you may expect Human After All, but I want to save that for its 20th anniversary, so you're going to have to wait a little bit much longer for that. But for now, let's get a bit into the history behind this record. After the Alive 2007 tour in, 2007, Daft Punk soon went to start work on some new material, and for a while, things seemed pretty quiet and up in the air. However, they would put a temporary pause on it when they were asked to compose the music score for 2010's Tron Legacy, which, regardless of what you may say about the film itself, has a pretty spectacular soundtrack. So, after that was wrapped up, they continued on with their next album. One of the intents for such was to rely much less on samples, loops, and other electronic elements that they have with prior records, and this time work with more real instruments and real people. Nearly everything seemed to be going under wraps at the time. But soon enough, by the dawn of 2013, the curtains were just finally beginning to slowly pull back a bit. Announcements were made, adverts were shown on telly, and billboards appeared across major cities. Then in April, a particular song came into light, playing on the radio, and became an instant hit as a comeback for Daft Punk. And a month later in May, the album itself was finally released and became just as much of a success, selling over 3 million copies worldwide, topping the Billboard 200 and even winning several Grammy Awards. All of that was achieved by two shy, humble French robots who only wanted to be human. And considering the rise of AI these days, that may seem a bit harsh in hindsight. But for now, let's jump into Daft Punk's 2013 album, Random Access Memories. Now, like with the previous Daft Punk album covers, this artwork is simple and iconic to a T. However, instead of featuring the familiar fonted logo front and center like with the other albums, this just has the equally familiar helmets along with the album title in this sort of fancy Michael Jackson Thriller style font. This was done by Warren Fu, who's best known for directing so many music videos for a ton of artists and musicians, and he was even behind the conceptual design of General Grievous from Star Wars. That's a legit fact. The guy who did this artwork and directed a lot of music videos for a lot of singers and artists also designed General Grievous. Now, if only Disney hired him to come up with just as much wicked, creative designs for the sequel trilogy. But knowing them, they would probably screw up even that too. Also, being a gatefold, it opens up to reveal a pretty cool looking synthesizer, seemingly upside down for whatever reason. Unless it's supposed to be opened up in a certain way, like if you were to hold this like this and just kind of and have it like that, like was that supposed to be the right way up? I don't know. It just seems like a weird thing. But let's get into the music itself, shall we? We begin the album with possibly quite a bang with its opening track, Give Life Back to Music. More often than not, an album can only be as good as its opening song. It's the one that sets the stage, gives it that first taste of flavor, and the albums of Daft Punk have had those certainly. Daft and Direct from Homework, One More Time from Discovery, and Human After All. And this song here definitely succeeds in all that. Some striking guitar chords, accompanied by a bit of spacey synths to kick us all off with, before it smoothly transitions into a bit of a sweet groovy disco with some funky guitar work by Nile Rodgers and Paul Jackson Jr. Daft Punk sure do love their disco. I guess you can say they're very disco, as in disco very? Yeah? The message of this song is plain and simple and clear, and yet so vague and deep enough to be left into your interpretation. As demonstrated after all, less is more. The message being, let the music in tonight, just turn on the music, let the music of your life give life back to music. As if to say, just shut out any and all cares that you may have in the world right now, at least for a moment, and just play the music that you love and enjoy. The music that represents you, that speaks to you on any or every level, and let it give new, fresh life to music overall as a whole. Let it inspire others as it had inspired you. In a way, the song represents a rebirth for Daft Punk, in most ways than one. After the bittersweet ending of Emotion, the final track on Human After All, while the duo may look like robots at first glance, they're more than that. They have heart and soul. This song, if not this album altogether, wasn't made just with mere machines. It was made with souls, with humans. Figuratively, of course, not literally, because boy would making music out of souls be a very disturbing thought. But anyways, Give Life Back to Music certainly gives life back to music. Or at least Daft Punk's music. Next is The Game of Love, a calmer and more mellow piece of techno-romantic music. If Give Life Back to Music is the one more time of this album, The Game of Love would most likely be the Digital Love. In fact, you could even connect and tie in together three of Daft Punk's love-titled songs in a way. Digital Love from Discovery, Make Love from Human After All, and The Game of Love from Random Access Memories. Digital Love centering around a robot dreaming about what it might feel like to be in love with someone for the first time. Make Love is about said robot trying to engage in intimacy and lovemaking. And finally, this could be about that very same robot realizing that this is all a game, just to test him. As with the first track, we again have the beautiful and iconic vocoder-enhanced vocals of Daft Punk themselves, whether it's Tomás Mangolta or Guy Manuel de Homem Cristo, or even both. While there, they sang with wisdom and confidence, but here they sing with a bit more softness and a subtle amount of lamenting. If it was you, the one that would be breaking my heart when you decided to walk away. And this love robot wants you to stay. As if he wants to truly be in this relationship, to feel true love, and if it's just a game, he's determined to win it. But yeah, The Game of Love is a smooth, chill, and soothing piece of music that I recommend playing it while you're relaxing on a nice chair outside in a nice warm summer sunset, or in a pub or bar, or just kind of just having a nice chill time at home, really. Just being chill at all. Side one ends with what I would probably consider my favourite of Daft Punk's songs, Jojo by Moroder. Oh yes, I do mean that. I know many people love the more popular and well-known tracks like Da Funk, Around the World, One More Time, Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, etc. But this one here sticks out to me especially. Not just because it's an absolutely loving tribute to Giorgio Moroder himself, the forefather of, or godfather of synthesizers, but also I think within this 9 minute piece best represents the true heart and core of Daft Punk, the different kinds of music they've made, and the different kinds of music that they were influenced by and aspire to make. The opening part starts off with the sounds of people murmuring with a few tinkering sounds as we soon hear a monologue beginning. This effect was done by having several people use forks on plates in front of microphones. This succeeds in giving off the illusion of being within a busy restaurant while interviewing and listening to a particular person. It's a very interesting use of Foley, which even I kind of like to achieve. Even I have learnt a bit of Foley at an old college I used to go to. The whole spoken monologue in question is done by none other than Giorgio himself, as he recounts his early years into the world of music in an abridged recap of sorts. He even mentions working on an album that would feature the sounds of the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and finally, a sound of the future, as he puts it. While he doesn't exactly name drop it here, any big music buff would know clear that he was talking about the Donna Summer album, I Remember Yesterday, and especially its hit single, I Feel Love, all of which he co-wrote and produced. And when it came to recording his dialogue here, they utilized several different microphones originating from various points of time, ranging from old ones from the 60s to new modern ones from the 21st century. And he was told that only Tomas would know and tell the difference. And in a way, he would be right, since I've listened to the song many times before, whether with speakers, headphones, earphones, and the like, and even I still can't pinpoint the changing of mics in between JoJo's speaking. That is mad genius. Another interesting moment is when he talks about needing a click track, during which the simple sound of a click track plays with it, fitting in pretty clever. I also really love how this song shifts seamlessly through various styles and genres, starting off with this groovy old school disco vibe like with Give Life Back to Music, then a synth heavy techno rhythm reminiscent of Veridis Quo or the Tron Legacy soundtrack, where they really show the influence from JoJo's music, even if he wasn't exactly involved in producing this song. During which, he offers an almost profound message of freeing your mind from music having to be correct and all that, being able to do whatever you may want without any preconception of what to do. This is then immediately followed by one of the best bits of modern pop music moments I think I've ever listened to. As Jojo speaks his last words here, all rock and electric elements are silenced for the time being as we get lifted by pure heavenly orchestral bliss. Those 35 seconds alone could be enough to send chills to the heart. And to think that this comes from the two same French blokes who started out cutting up and sampling bits of old 70s records and producing electronic house songs out of them at home back in the late 90s and early 2000s. All that speaks levels of musical growth and personal evolution. And the grand finale combines all the styles together perfectly well, none overbearing or weighing over the others. The orchestra, the synthesizers, the bass played by Nathan East, who also played with the likes of Eric Clapton, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Bobby Womack, just to name a few. He even performed in and co wrote the song Easy Lover with Phil Collins and Philip Bailey. Not to mention the fantastic guitar by Paul Jackson Jr. again, who, which I should probably mention, was also a session musician for quite a number of albums by George Benson, Natalie Cole, Michael Jackson, Kenny Rogers, again, just to name a few, and the drums of Omar Hakim, whom I might have mentioned in my Let's Dance review. It all just hits you together in all the right places and all the right ways. And it finally blasts into a close as we hear what sounds like a buzzing sound soon turns out to be a click track, slowing down until it gets into a steady, a lonely, silent beat, and then it stops. If all this so far doesn't blow you away right between your ears, I don't know what even ever will.